Welcome in to DC On Screen, a podcast about the DC Universe properties being brought to film and television. I am your host, David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Yes.
And this is our weekly news episode. We got a lot to get to, so I'm just going to go ahead and plow into. And first off, I want to say, I'm really sorry. Last week, I should have mentioned it. I was planning on mentioning, but I did not. Dude, Prince died, and
yeah, I know. And you actually had something on the Facebook page about that. Just I
had,
didn't you?
Yeah,
wasn't that you?
I had several things on the Facebook page about it. Links to different music, specifically that of the Tim Burton Batman soundtrack, which he contributed to greatly, and an album's worth of music too. Of course, there was another album for the soundtrack, which was the Danny Elfman stuff. But
Prince pretty much contributed an album to just damn near anything.
Well,
that man wrote everything that the Beatles and Bob Dylan didn't. You can just take a guess and say, Prince probably wrote it. He was prolific. It was just so many albums. I can't say that I'm a huge Prince fan. I like Prince. I've enjoyed pretty much everything I've heard him do. I certainly, as a kid, my mom had a copy of that Batman soundtrack, and of course,
she is a bigger Prince fan than I am, certainly. And
yeah, it's never been one of the people I've gotten around to truly studying, but I do know this without a shadow of a doubt: that man was a phenomenal guitar player.
Absolutely, but yeah,
I think at some point somebody asked Eric Clapton, "How does it feel to be the world's best guitar player?" And he said, "I don't know. You'd have to ask Prince."
Right. That if you've never listened to that Batman soundtrack, you need to go check it out. Though it's Arms of Orion, man, Trust, and Bat Dance is like I think I posted an article that argued that it was, while heralded as goofy and campy at the time, it absolutely was the 1989 the proper continuation of the 1960s Batman theme from the Bill Dozier series. Absolutely.
I don't doubt that one bit.
Absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, not a huge Prince fan. I've listened to Controversy. I've listened to Purple Rain, and clearly tons of singles over the years.
Yeah.
Always more of a Bob Dylan guy. And unfortunately, Bob takes up a fair amount of my time musically. Right. But Prince is great.
I have same problem with the Beatles. I've got there's a limited amount of them, but then they all went off and did stuff afterwards. So I've got a giant chunk of my interest or time spent on studying music has been Beatle related. I have some friends though that could sit here and do 4 hours right now on any topic you wanted to, as long as it involved Prince. I really do.
And I my other big band is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And my favorite thing that I've ever seen of Prince, oh my gosh. So they were inducting, and I'll put up a link to this video if you haven't seen it. I can't imagine that you haven't. It's got almost 26 million views on YouTube, and I discovered it years and years ago, and I've shown it to every friend I've ever made since. There is George Harrison being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they're playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps. It's Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, George Harrison's son, a number of the Heartbreakers are up there, Phil Spector's up there, and you don't notice it until a little while into the song, but Prince is up there as well. He's not in the spotlight. And
no, he stays quiet.
He stays quiet, and then destroys everything at the end of the song. And I watched it again in preparation for this, talking about this, and I have to admit, he's just jamming out, and Petty's glaring at him and playing too, just going, "Oh my Lord." And and Prince gets this twinkle in his eye and grins at Petty, and I almost lost it, because I knew he wasn't around anymore. Absolutely phenomenal performer.
I remember that look, and it's basically him telling Petty, "Man, hold on, you ain't seen nothing yet." I'm pretty sure that's what was being communicated. No, keep on the rhythm, buddy. I got plenty more.
And Harrison's kid,
and he did.
Harrison's kid, man, he's back there playing. He loses his shit laughing. Goes Prince at the apex of this solo he's doing, falls backwards into the crowd, and one of his boys grabs him and pushed him back up on stage.
One of the security guys plops him back up, and he's still playing the entire time.
Oh yeah. So And then the best part is like the song ends. He's done with the solo. He just pops his guitar off of his shoulders and into the crowd and like struts off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was incredible. And to Eric Clapton's point, it's one of those things that you may or may not know, especially a casual Beatles fan doesn't necessarily know it, but it is documented, it's out there and all that. But you have to look into it a little bit to find it. Like when I was first listening to the Beatles, I always thought there was something funky about While My Guitar Gently Weeps, because I kept listening to their musical styles, and a lot like Lennon, well, everyone but Ringo has been recorded playing guitar at some point, and they all have their different styles, like everybody does. And the solo on While My Guitar just never fit. I could never completely say it was anybody. Sure enough, it's Eric Clapton. Mm-hmm. It was a quiet thing. They let him into the studio one day. It was actually good because they were having a lot of problems that day, and because like they had somebody else was in, and they all behaved and actually got some fucking work done for once. It was at that time, at the Twickenham Studios kind of area where they were really having a lot of issues. But yeah, they get him in. Oh, before the Twickenham. Anyway, but they get him in though, and they get that done. And look, Eric Clapton was there that night for for George's induction. He was those two were they were tight for most of their lives. Clapton could have played that.
Yeah,
he absolutely could have. I mean, it's not like he needed training. He played the original solo, and they still let Prince do it.
Absolutely. So, didn't want to overlook the absolutely tragic loss of Prince. Whenever I get a chance and think about it, I'll pop back over, and I usually go and listen to something else I've never listened to by Prince. There's a lot of music out there. It's hard to get around everything, and he's not completely always my vibe, but he always impresses me when I listen to him. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he's hard to get on social media because not social media. He's hard to get on streaming because
he does not like the downloads.
He does not. Like
he
actually, when you look back at what he did as far as how he structured his career recording, he's been fighting for his fellow musicians for years. In different ways, and actually kind of winning a lot of those battles. Like even that weird thing where he changed his name to a symbol. That was all. That was to screw the record label. That was to screw Warner Brothers.
Right. And when he was campaigning against the record labels, demanding that he put out music at certain intervals, and he was going around with "slave" written on his cheek.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
There.
He made a mark, dude. He made a mark.
Yeah. And there's a lot we could say about Prince, but I think we need to move on.
We're novices as far as Prince goes, and there's still just a lot that went on with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. On to some happier news. Happy birthday to our friend Scott Matteson of simplysyndicated.com. His birthday is today, May 2nd, the day we're recording this.
Happy birthday to you.
He is a wonderful contributor.
Say it's your birthday.
Wonderful contributor to our show. One of the best listeners we could ever ask for. So
damn straight.
Thank you, Scott, for everything. Happy birthday to Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, I should say. Wonder Woman.
Gadot.
Yeah, it's Gadot.
She went out of her way to correct you, damn it.
I know. She is 31, and she turned 31 on the 30th. Shall we move on to box office totals?
I'm surprised. She's older than me. I'm surprised.
She's older than you?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, she's younger. She's younger. I forgot what age I was.
That's what I thought. No, I know how old I am. I thought I knew.
Your brain starts wanting to forget which number's right at some point.
Did you stop at 27?
No, I stopped at 30. I just decided I was 30 after 30.
Right. Like my brain refuses to believe that my sister Ashley is older than 16.
Oh, that happens too.
She is. She's almost 30, guys.
Yeah.
And I refuse to believe that I'm older than 24. That's my brain just I have to push it. I force it. I'm like, no, you're 32, Dave. Calm down.
And emotionally, we're right. Like
no, emotionally we're still wrong. I'm about 7. So anyway, box office totals. Batman v Superman, very much slowing down. It's apparently still making about $1 million a day internationally. But
which doesn't sound bad, but it kind of is.
Yeah, kind of is. Worldwide has made $862,892,009. Yeah, so
it got to about that 8 mark, and just kind of it's been a trickle since then. At this point, I really don't think they're actually going to cross into that extra digit. I really don't.
It's not, and I know that sounds like a ton of money, but that is a disappointment. Like, everyone kind of thought it'd make like $1.5 billion or $2 billion, or at least $1 billion.
They can still get there if they'll give me that rated R cut. I'll be happy to go help them out with that.
Absolutely, me too.
I don't think it'll qualify. I've never actually seen. How do you qualify that? Does it count as a second movie, or?
It does not. That's why Titanic is number one, because it was re-released with different, like, they changed stuff and they re-released it. And there's like a longer version, and it's just theater. Period. That's why. Yeah. Just
so
like it wouldn't matter if it was 3D or 2D.
Okay, so it goes under those rules. Okay,
I think so. Yeah. So going on to Batman vs Superman, the unrated Blu-ray, or not unrated, I guess, more like R-rated Blu-ray runtime has been released. The theatrical version has 120 minutes of bonus features.
Saw that.
And the extended version is going to be 181 minutes and rated R. So that's going to be 3 hours and 1 minute.
Hell and all the yeses.
Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't already pre-ordered it, I'd be doing it right now.
If I wasn't trying to plan a wedding and could, I would have pre-ordered it and joined you on that. You get very broke when you're doing that.
I know.
I'll trust me. I'll have it when it hits the shelves. I'll have figured out how to buy it.
Right.
It may or may not be illicit activities or very degrading activities involved.
Yeah.
I could just go to the Target and stand outside with a sign that says, can you please help me buy this copy of Superman? It might work.
You're going to get people saying, oh, sweetie, wait for Civil War. Like, shut up!
It's going to become... People will come and take money out of the basket and go, I'm helping you.
Well, this is the way you work. You only have tent poles. Like, you have, like... not even, like, tent poles. You just have, like, the big trendsetters. Like, the big, like... These are the big moments. The cornerstones. Like...
Right.
You don't own any Marvel movies except for the Avengers. But it's on Blu-ray and DVD.
I own Iron Man.
Do you? I didn't know you had Iron Man.
That's it, though. That's really it.
I remember like you went out and proudly bought the Avengers on Blu-ray, or like, this is the best movie that was ever made. So
I mean, and I regret nothing about that opinion or that purchase.
No,
I don't.
No. So
it was like the 3D Blu-ray because I wanted to get all the special features that came on it.
Absolutely. I still haven't bought the Avengers.
I gotta tell you guys, I pretty much stream everything else as it comes up. So
yeah, love the movie. Still haven't bought it. I don't know. I seriously stopped at Captain America, the first Avenger. There became too much.
It went into affordability.
It did.
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers is doing something really fun, and I was listening to the Suicide Squad cast, and they were like, WB never gets any credit for this. And they're right, because I've barely heard anything about this, and this is awesome. On the Batman v Superman Instagram, they released a picture of Robin, the Robin costume, and Bruce looking up at it.
Yeah.
And the caption is 20 years in Gotham, how many good guys are left? And they released it on April 27th. And a Reddit user was looking around and figured out that there's a comic book, and I don't remember where they said it. Well, I think Squadcast said it was an annual from 2006 or something. But anyway, found Jason Todd's death certificate. His date of death is April 27th.
Yeah. See, that's
good.
And it cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah, I played with the idea that it was a coincidence. I was like, nah. But then again, another part of me thought
it's too specific.
It can't be.
This is a leap year. You get
it
every day you could possibly have to have dropped that.
Right. It can't be. It really can't be a coincidence. My concern is that whoever did that thought, oh, this will be fun, and Zack Snyder was like, yeah, we're not changing our story based on something an Instagram account did.
I know, and we've talked before about how Snyder has a fair amount of troll in him. Mm-hmm. So that being a direct order is not off the table.
Yeah, he was like, people were like, why? Well, you said we thought it was going to be Jason Todd because of the leak. And he's like, it wasn't a leak. That was something somebody else did. Marketing did that. I didn't do that. And he pulls out a gun, shoots Lois in the head. What was that? You said she was the key. We don't have any room for her in the movies. Right. That was for fun.
We were just trying to give you some time with her before we had to inevitably get rid of her. But,
Look, man, I do. I was okay with Jimmy. But I did, you know what? I read I guess spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Batman v Superman yet. But,
God, there can't be anyone listening to this that hasn't.
Gosh. Right? But I'm thinking, like, I actually did, and I got sucked into this site, Devin Faraci, this guy over at Birth, Movies, Death, this guy who very much dislikes the Warner Brothers treatment of the DC characters and everything. Always coming up with clickbait crap. He wrote a very compelling piece about how short-sighted it was to kill Jimmy Olsen. And I liked his take on it, though. I was like, yeah, while I didn't really care, he was like, yeah, okay, maybe you didn't have room for him, but in, say, 10, 15 years when you're gone from the project and it's moved on to someone else, why would you just take somebody else's toys out? Why would you make it impossible for someone else to pull those DC toys out and play with them in the future? It's kind of a good point. Like, just because you didn't want to use them doesn't mean somebody else didn't want to use them. Maybe a good point. Maybe a good point.
That's an okay one, but
right.
It's slightly impractical. Just that there will not be in our wildest expectations and dreams. Even if you like these films and you want them to just keep going forever. Mm-hmm. And obviously, that's divisive on that. Mm-hmm. They can't go on forever. They can't. There's a limited time, and
tell that to Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean,
they'll reboot it. Actually, that's a fine point, though. Like, what if we're past the point where you have to reboot something every few years? What if we're really past that point?
We're not.
Where people start treating movies like 2.5-hour TV episodes. Because, that's where my heart is.
Absolutely.
If you ask me right now if I want to write a movie or run a TV show, I'll die trying, but I'll run the TV show. Because that's the kind of story I prefer telling myself. But, I don't know. Maybe it's possible we get past that point one day.
Yeah, maybe. So I posted an article, and some people have taken it the wrong way. I didn't mean it in any kind of way, and the people who wrote it didn't. I don't believe mean it in any kind of way. This comes from Heroic Hollywood. Not Heroic Hollywood. The Hollywood Reporter. The Russos said that basically Batman v Superman being announced helped them convince Kevin Feige that Civil War was a good idea.
Yeah.
And I posted a link that said, for anyone who thinks that DC is copying Marvel, because there are a lot of people out there who truly believe that DC is just trying to copy Marvel.
Well, and
they're just not.
I admit
they're going about it the exact opposite way.
Well, no, it's overstating it a little bit to me. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not just feeding off each other, but that's the actual truth of it, is they're feeding off each other. These people are trying to make the same type of film. Mm-hmm. So when something works, you go with it. When somebody else takes a first step, you go with it. You don't want to bet your money necessarily. That's usually how the big networks like that move. They don't want to be the first person who ever did something if they can help it, and if it'll cost them nothing to let somebody else try it and fail first, they'll do it.
Right, and I'm not one to fan the flames on this Marvel DC war at all.
No, we're all on the same side here.
I get a little tired of just the constant DC bashing of like, oh, they're copying. How are they copying? You were just complaining that they weren't copying hard enough. Like, no, they've got to do individual movies like Marvel did, but they're copying Marvel. That doesn't make any sense. Stop. And honestly, I love the Marvel movies. I don't feel any more compelled to care about those characters as is after 12 movies or whatever it was than I am about any of these characters like Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, or Lois in Batman v Superman. I feel just as much for those characters as I do for 12 movies worth of Thor and Iron Man. Sorry.
Look, Civil War is coming out in a few days. I want to see the shit out of that movie.
Me too, man. Me too.
This is just more candy to me.
Oh yeah.
I know we've said it before, but like me and you love this movie, and I know there's other people that liked it, but
It has its
part
issues.
Of me wishes it had. Part of me wishes it had been a movie that everybody could enjoy because it was such a big production, and I hate that everyone didn't get to really love it the way we do.
I stand by my claim that it has a fair amount to do with expectation, because there's been so many versions of these characters on the screen before. They are American icons. Everyone has an idea of what those characters should be.
Yeah. Laymen still have an idea of who these characters are if you made them write like a 3-sentence synopsis.
Right, but there's no right answer because, while some critics are complaining like, oh, we didn't need, the Waynes killed again. Everyone knows the story of Batman. Well, why are you complaining? Why are you turning right around and saying we didn't have enough character development to care about these heroes? I thought you just said you knew Batman. You just can't please anybody. That's my point.
I know, and it for me and you, it was the movie we wanted.
It was pretty close. I'm not saying I had to make the same choices all the way through.
No, there's things I'd change. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it qualifies as a damn shame essentially that it wasn't the movie that other people wanted, and unfortunately they made such a polarizing choice that it couldn't just be you enjoyed it a little bit, but maybe not as much as you wanted to for everybody. Mm-hmm. It like the Avengers, for the most part, you really could just go enjoy that movie, and yeah, maybe there's some stuff you wanted to change, but the outliers are the people who are like, no, they fucked everything up. This is a movie that he made a lot of choices, and like for us, they were the right choices, and for other people, they weren't. And I'm glad I'm the one who won that lottery, that I enjoyed it, and
I am really looking forward to seeing the 3-hour cut, because I've been hearing in various places that 3-hour cut was the cut that like the Warner Brothers executives got so like happy about, and that like when they cut it down, it had less legs, and they knew it wasn't going to be as good, but they wanted that extra amount of time.
They wanted the extra viewings to yeah. Oh well, they may learn an important lesson about quality versus quantity here.
Fingers crossed,
right?
But yeah, I can't wait for the 3-hour cut. Anyway,
yeah.
I love all you Marvel guys out there. I wish you liked BVS better. Moving on to Suicide Squad.
Even the DC guys out there that just wish they liked it better. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. Selfishly, I'm glad it's me that enjoyed it and not you. But
you bastard.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'd hate to be where you are if you're one of the people that didn't like it.
So speaking,
we all had a lot of hope going in, and some of it was burst.
Moving on to Suicide Squad, though, people have been complaining about Harley's hot pants. Like this is a real thing, a real controversy that's going on around the net. And so Margot Robbie came out saying that Harley is wearing hot pants because they're sparkly and fun, not because she wants guys to look at her ass. She said, I mean,
they obviously have at least one joke about guys looking at her ass in the movie.
Mm-hmm. She says, as Margot, no, I don't like wearing that. I'm eating burgers at lunchtime, and then you go to a scene where you're hosed down and soaking wet in a white t-shirt. It's so clingy, and you're self-conscious about it.
Yeah, that I gotta say this though. That happens to everyone who eats burgers at lunchtime and then gets hosed down in a white t-shirt.
Right. David Ayer.
I say this as a person who has had that self-conscious thought many a time.
I have that self-conscious thought dry wearing a black t-shirt. I don't know what. David,
I feel her. I feel her on that. I do.
Yeah. David Ayer said that other ideas for outfits wouldn't work. He said, I didn't think denim overalls would be appropriate for that character. Who mentioned that?
That's a straw man argument, David. That's
a straw man argument. That? Who suggested that?
No one suggested that shit.
He said that Robbie understood that the hot pants look is part of the iconography. Not terribly.
Not completely. No.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Jester suit was closer. But
yeah. Look, if you, I got to disagree with Ayer on this one.
Me too.
If you're in a comic book, usually if you're an unattractive person, it's part of your character that you're an unattractive person. Otherwise, it's pretty much assumed that you're an attractive person. Does that sound about right?
Sure.
It's a lot of the people that are being drawn or filmed or whatever we're doing here, especially drawn though, they're all pretty attractive people. You draw the ideal human form, rather than I get that, but damn, hot pants isn't necessary. Not necessary.
There's a lot to be said for the. I don't want to really get into this so totally, but it makes sense. Like people are like, well, I'm not represented in comic books because I'm not hot. Well, I mean, most people aren't. But the way artists work is like there's an idealized version of the human face and the human body, and like they've done studies on this where they find that like the most average looking people are really what most people think of as the most attractive, because it's just the most base version of a face that you can think of.
Yeah. So look, and that's part of why this happened, I think, to begin with, and we're going into some weird shit, but that's part of how this monster came to be is like average people are extremely attractive, but when you give somebody an above average, sometimes it peaks sales. And look, man, there's a reason you turn on a television, it's a bunch of pretty people. There's a reason like Lena Dunham gets so much applause for going on Girls and being just a real fucking person. There's a reason. And I kind of love that the tide's turning a little bit.
Let me just say this. Really, the pretty people that you think that you're not better than are the most average people ever. So you turn that frown upside down because you're unique. Above average and below average. They may be considered ugly in the old days, but now they're the real beauties.
Not even the old days. You do the research. It's different. Well, we'll hope that's an inspiring enough message to run the hell away from this topic, and hope we didn't piss too many people off.
Everyone's beautiful. How's that?
Yeah. Run, Dave. Run with me.
There are thorns in the bushes. Thorns in the bushes, Jason.
I think I heard arrows.
So
I can't feel my thigh. That can't be good.
So Margot Robbie joked. Well, they say that she jokes. I don't think she's joking. She says, "I'm not wearing hot pants in the next one."
I don't think she is either. I don't think she's joking.
Yeah.
I think it'll do well enough that she can say straight out, "No, this isn't happening. Period. Done. Out."
Yeah. So Will Smith is talking about reasons he decided to play Deadshot. Last year, he talked about how he liked the idea of exploring the character's, quote, dubious morals. Now he's been talking again. He says, "It's a character that hasn't really been explored in cinema. I get to design it and be a part of creating the first round of Deadshot in the history of cinema. It's a really great opportunity to work with a really great ensemble. It was perfectly cast. It's an insane group of super actor villains." He says that he had to take a deep dive over a 6 or 7 month period to read all the comic books back to back, which I doubt he did, to get into the character.
That dude's committed. I'm sure he actually read a lot of comics.
I'm sure he read a lot, but not all of them back to back.
No, that's asking a lot.
So yeah, he seems to be really into it, and that's neat. I'm not the most excited about him playing the character, honestly, because I say that because Deadshot. Like, my main reasoning is Deadshot is a character that should be explored with an unknown actor because he's an unknown character. Like, now it's just going to be like, oh well. When
you
someone
think it's
says,
going to
"Hey,
be Will Smith's Deadshot"?
Yeah, hey, Deadshot? Yeah, Will Smith? No, Deadshot.
Yeah, I mean, you may be right. Same time, somebody else will have a chance to do him, and I think he'll do a good job with him. So,
yeah, I mean, I think he'll do fine. It's just
the guy on Arrow didn't do a bad job at all.
No, but I don't know him from
when he says cinema. He's apparently being very specific.
He's being very specific or unnecessarily reductive.
The guy on both work. Yeah, the guy on Arrow and I guess Flash, right?
The guy on Smallville was good.
For half a second. The guy on Arrow, though, has had more screen time as Deadshot than he will in this entire movie. Probably the entire franchise. Mm-hmm. I hate to.
And I guarantee, I already know from the trailer, guy on Arrow made more interesting choices.
I'm not sure. Look, the
Will Smith has one button. Will Smith.
Yeah, but Will Smith's button is usually like fun and really charismatic and entertaining to watch. He is. The guy's entertaining to watch. He just is.
I guess. He was in 1997.
Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like when he picks his darker role, here's my background here. When he picks his darker roles, it's usually movies that I don't care about, so I've never seen them.
Right.
It's like the closest I've gotten to seeing Will Smith do something truly dramatic is probably like I Am Legend. I don't watch his like what is it 4 pounds and concussion and all.
7 pounds.
7 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't get around to that. I don't. I just.
You know what? Sadly, and you know, if I was a writer
for me, he's a real fun guy.
If I was a writer for Movie Pilot, I would have already written this article. But I contend that every role you have ever seen Will Smith play in a movie, he already played in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at some point. You've already seen that character somewhere. Like, it doesn't matter. He's done the voice. He's done they had a special episode.
that is, I submit that that's inevitable because he has a range. And to Fresh Prince's credit, they let him explore the hell out of that range sometimes.
They did. And you know, the one time that everyone just like pissed all over his range, like when he just really got way outside of it, was After Earth.
Yeah. So which I heard it too. Again, never saw it.
Right. Yep, me either. So I couldn't do it.
It kind of came out as we were starting this podcast, I want to say, or as we were digging deep into some source material. And man... Yeah, no time for After Earth.
All I remember about that time is someone told me that After Earth was out and that Will Smith was awful. And around that same time, I was waking up every day confused because there were capes in my bed. I was like pulling capes out from like couch cushions and going, "What the hell did I do last night?"
Right.
So, still on Suicide Squad, Karen Fukuhara talked about meeting the Joker. She maintains that she didn't meet Jared Leto either. She says, I've seen him on set, I've met him, I've introduced myself, and everything has been like, ha 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 ha, hi, pretty. And she's like, hi, I'm Karen. And he'd be like, ha.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm still waiting to see if the payoff to that is worth it, but man, it's a great lead up.
It is. So Barnes & Noble is releasing a Suicide Squad 16-month calendar July 15th. So get ready for that, guys. Go buy that, I guess. I don't know. If you want. If you don't, well, then don't. Now, one of the big news items of this week, though, is that Seth Grahame-Smith, who is he was going to be a first-time director. He has left The Flash. This is a guy that wrote a treatment after Lord and Miller of the Lego Movie left the project. His claim to fame was, I believe, the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, that kind of all that stuff. I
remember being dubious about about any of that.
Yeah, well, this was gonna be his first time directing, and he has left over creative differences. Everyone's flipping out and talking about like how this is the first sign the WB movies are crumbling. WB is seeing the like Devin Faraci over on Birth Movies Death. He's saying that the aftershocks of BVS are to blame. He's saying that James Wan is going to be next. He's going to leave Aquaman because that's what his sources are telling him. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But Seth Grahame-Smith, I was not wholly on board with. Like I was just, I laughed very hard. I saw someone wrote, I think someone wrote, or maybe I heard it. Someone said Seth Grahame-Smith is basically like you cutting off a frostbitten toe. It was dead already, and you didn't need it. So I'm good. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I understand the books which he wrote were funny, were good. The Pride and Prejudice, the Zombies, etc. But I don't need a first-time director on Flash. I just don't.
Flash in the hands of a first-time director is risky as all hell. It's
risky as all hell, and I think when they made the deal with him, the Flash was an unproven character. Now they have really been like peacocking his ass around. Like
that shit's hanging in there for millions of viewers a week.
The Flash is a big show, and you're already going to be dealing with the fact that there are people going to go to this movie pissed off that it's not Grant Gustin and company.
There will be.
They have to reconfigure some things, and I don't think that that's a sign of weakness I think, the movie making is an undulating art form, I'll say. It's, you need to be fluid. And, I absolutely don't mind them changing creative directions if they need to. Now, Faraci is saying that, James Wan is next. James Wan responded. He posted a picture on Twitter of himself casually leaning up against a giant wall that has Aquaman on it. So, and this is how much a class act James Wan is. His fans started bashing Devin Faraci, who, I've stated before, kind of an asshat when it comes to WB and Warner Brothers and stuff. James says, "Please, there's absolutely no need to attack Devin or anyone." Aw, isn't that nice? It's a class act, James Wan.
It's as classy as Gustin was.
But Devin's an asshole. Solo. Speaking of that asshole, he is reporting that apparently every major Bat villain is going to be in the Batman Solo movie. He never cites sources, so who knows?
I mean, every.
Yeah, he's real hit or miss. He's clickbait, man. He's a clickbait guy.
I don't know what to do with it. Every major and villain. All three of those words, you better explain your damn self.
I mean, there's a few ways you could do that. Long Halloween, Hush, or just a brand new thing. Because guess what? Heroic Insider, who usually is right, those are the guys at Umberto over at the Heroic Hollywood. He's saying that Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns now have complete creative control over the Solo Bat stuff.
Awesome. That sounds good. That sounds good. Look, Affleck has shown he has chops, and we all know Jeff Johns. Those are 4 trusted hands as far as I'm concerned right now.
He says, from what I'm hearing, according to sources, Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns have complete creative control on the movie, which is big, meaning that they are going to be calling all of the creative shots. They're not going to have any outside influences. The guys over at Heroic are usually very accurate. They called most of the stuff, most of the spoilers I didn't want to, even mention on the show that I kind of gleaned were from them. Right. They're usually pretty spot on, so I'm hoping this is one of those that is accurate. I'll post a link to that episode of Heroic Insider as well. There has also been a leak from Wonder Woman. There's a picture out there. They've been filming in Europe and Paris and London, and there's a truck. There's a high security vehicle that says Wayne Enterprises on it. Mm-hmm. It looks like one of those mint trucks or whatever. Truck that carries money around.
The Brinks brand.
Yeah. It looks like that, except it says Wayne Enterprises on it. And there's Gal Gadot. I can't say her name right. What's wrong with me? So that's, I don't know. Everyone's like, "Oh, is Batman in it?" Maybe. Would you be hurt if he was?
Right.
I wouldn't be.
How many people have you actually heard say they really hated his Batman? Even among the people who this movie was never going to be for you, you didn't mind. Trust me, I know I'm talking percentages here, but the overwhelming percentage thought Ben did an okay job.
Yeah, and I mean, jump back a couple of years when Ben was announced, and everyone on the internet was hating on him, pictures of Ben's face over the Bale face in the Batman costume, going, "How you like them apples?" As if Good Will Hunting was the only movie Ben Affleck's ever been in, and that was the only voice he's ever had.
Yeah, and even then, come on.
Yeah, you don't hear any of that now.
You did a good job in Good Will.
All that went away. Just saying. So, speaking of those times that Heroic Hollywood doesn't always get things right, there was a huge, huge rumor that they were talking about saying George Miller of the Mad Max movies and Happy Feet, of course, was actually looking to do Green Lantern Corps movie. And I don't know, it might be true, but Quint over at Ain't It Cool News says he reached out to a, quote, pretty high-level source, not thinking he'd hear back from them, and they wrote back, "Rumors are bogus."
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think George Miller could pull off a Green Lantern Corps movie, but I don't really care.
It's a little bit innocuous to me. He's not the only person who could pull off a Green Lantern Corps movie, so...
Also, should we really be planning to give George Miller, who's 80, anything that's 5 years in the future?
It's a dark note, but
It's a dark note, but maybe he's 75. I don't know, but still.
I promise you, there's a lot of insurance liability that is deeply considered in this field, and there are actuary tables to deal with those. And I'm telling you this right now. I know that sounds dark and screwed up, but you're not the first person who's thought of that.
Yeah, I know. It's just, dude, do more Mad Max movies. Play in your sandbox, literally sandbox.
Yeah.
Dirt
box, whatever.
Well, yeah. Don't. No, you don't want to mess with WB's DC stuff. So, again, birth, movies, death. Devin Faraci is reporting that there are big fights going on between Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers. This is something that apparently multiple people are confirming, though. Mm-hmm. Like BatmanMovies.com is confirming that is true in their podcast.
Yeah.
But there are reasons for that. To be honest, Snyder has made 2 DC movies. He's made Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Both of them underperformed at the box office.
Well, Watchmen.
You're
just saying DC movies.
Yeah, but... yeah. DC Universe movies. Man of Steel and
DCEU,
Batman v Superman.
as they're calling it.
Right. Batman v Superman and Man of Steel both underperformed at the box office. They were both disliked by a lot, if not most critics, and got mixed reactions from the audiences.
Yeah.
So it's looking like Warner Brothers is looking to, I don't know, put him under their thumb a little more, with Justice League Parts 1 and 2. I don't blame them.
They have their expectations. They do their projections. You're hired to bring in a certain amount of money. I get it.
I'm not looking.
Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed the movies he's done.
I'm on the fence because I've bashed Zack Snyder over Man of Steel, and elements of Man of Steel.
Even so, I'm.
I mean, we have, but we both have.
We both have
recorded conversations, Jason.
I still feel better about it than you do, is what I mean.
Yeah, and one of the things I really liked about Batman v Superman is it didn't feel like a Zack Snyder film.
Yeah.
But then when we watched Watchmen, we were watching Watchmen. Who watches the Watchmen? We watched the Watchmen. We were sitting in your living room watching the ultimate cut of Watchmen, and I looked over at you and said, Zack Snyder needs to do Justice League.
I forgot about that. Oh, look, the man loves these characters. He does, most of them at least. I mean, and that's just human. That's just human. There are people that other people love, and I could not find 2 fucks to bring together and sellotape. There's always going to be a little bit of humanity to it, but the majority of these characters he loves. He's informed. I kind of I hate it for him and possibly for me, being selfish again, that it may not end up working out. But I understand as a business they had expectations. They were budgeting. They had he did as far as your numbers go. He underperformed in the box office, and that's a bottom line for a lot of people. If something ends up really happening, I understand how it happened, but
yeah, and
still,
yeah, I think there's so many factors.
Really wouldn't mind seeing the end of the story he's trying to tell.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. But it's a lot of money to invest in something like that.
I know it's a lot of, and you're expecting a certain amount of return if it doesn't happen. And don't get me wrong, movies get to expect a certain amount of return that's just freaking ridiculous.
Now, I will say
one of
this:
those industries where you can go, well, you didn't make us 250% profit, you're fired. It's absurd. But go ahead.
I'll say this. I want to see where Zach goes with this and what they're doing. But if tomorrow the news breaks that they have shifted a whole bunch of shit around, Zack Snyder is gone, and Jeff Johns is the new Kevin Feige of Warner Brothers, I'm going to be pretty damn happy.
Just put Johns in charge of the entire product.
I don't see why they don't do that anyway. Let Zach play with pretty pictures.
And he makes pretty pictures.
Let Zach play with pretty pictures. Put Jeff in charge of all of that shit. Get him out of the comics. He's not even needed in the comics anymore. He's really not. You've got people like Scott Snyder over there playing. Get him. Make him something big. Get Jeff Johns. Make him the head of...
He gave us the Court of Owls. This guy is clearly capable of adding something to an existing canon.
Yeah.
Enhancing it and making it better without taking anything away.
Yeah.
That's a quick argument for Snyder. Plenty of long arguments that could be made.
Right. There are a lot of ways they can go with a lot of shit. Bring in Paul Dini. I know he worked in the cartoon. Bring him in. He's good. He knows these characters better than anyone. He'll honor everything, every version somehow, and you'll never even understand how he did it, but you'll feel it in your heart.
Right.
Anyway, enough of that. Jeremy Irons has confirmed that he's in Justice League and the solo Batman film.
Yeah, saw that.
Were you about to say something else? It sounded like you were about to say something else.
Well, the only thing I was going to say was it's getting to a point where there's so much division inside between the network and the writers, the producers, Snyder, everything. There's getting to be enough. I'll tell you, at this point, we're better off if we get one product. Period. Mm-hmm. If we finally settle on what we're doing and do it, I think we'll be better off than if we keep bouncing around and giving other people control and wrestling. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they turn on Zach and leave it to somebody else, we've got a lot of years ahead of us. It just pick your horse and ride him.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a horse,
also Irons, hell yeah,
right. Speaking of a horse that we're riding here happily,
mm-hmm.
This is an actual news item that I've been seeing floating around. Will Henry Cavill have a beard in Justice League?
Oh dear God!
Henry Cavill posted a picture, and it is interesting, kind of. But Henry Cavill posted a picture of himself training, and he said, "Now this is Henry Cavill's a nice guy. Look at this guy." He says, "You helped raise the bar on Superman training today. I did 1 million reps in honor of you guys. Just kidding. It wasn't anywhere near that many. But I did want to say thank you for the continuous support you have shown for the things that are dear to my heart. Hashtag thank you. Hashtag Superman training. Hashtag Superman. Hashtag Justice League." But he has a beard in the picture, and people are flipping out thinking like, oh, you know, as Suicide Squadcast said, instead of the crappy mullet from the 90s, we're going to get a beard instead. When he comes back from the dead. I'm down.
Actually, it wouldn't be the end of my world.
No,
it just wouldn't.
Like hell yeah, let's do Superman with a beard. I've kind of always wanted to see Superman with a beard.
I mean, they've been on set and hanging out for a few weeks now. I don't know what their production schedule is. For God's sake, I have no idea.
Thanks to Superman 3, I've already seen him with a beard. Now a beard.
Right. Just adding a letter here and changing one. Whatever.
A letter or two.
Yeah. It won't wreck anything that... Let me put it this way. The biggest argument is he killed half of Metropolis and broke Zod's neck. And, I mean, even if you're not on the tolerant side of that argument, it's still... Come on. Just facial hair. Mm-hmm. At that point, this got to be pretty low on your priority list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One would hope, but, you know the truth, don't you?
I know. Every single aspect of that damn character.
Mm-hmm.
Scrutinized to hell and back. I get it. I do.
Speaking of scrutinizing things, though, Warner Brothers is
also,
opening.
They're still gearing up, right? Like they're still training. It's not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily mean he's filming while he's doing this.
Yeah, no one knows.
Not yet.
No one knows.
Just hang out on that one. He might just be pumping weights to try to get up to like film weight.
But you can scrutinize some sets and stuff if you have. You got a honeymoon coming up. You can go to. Maybe you can go to. Do the WB studio tour. You think?
In Jamaica?
Oh, I guess not.
No, sorry.
I forgot where you were going.
Hitting up Jamaica's.
Well, Warner Brothers is doing DC Universe the exhibit. You can go to WBstudiotour.com to get your tickets, and you're gonna wanna, cause.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad you told me about that after I'd planned where we were going, because
I
might have ruined my marriage very quickly.
Right. Oh, I'm not sure you'd ruin it.
Nah, I think I'd probably be all right. But still.
Studio tour guests will be treated to an exclusive sneak peek at the highly anticipated film Suicide Squad as they explore authentic props and costumes from the film in advance of its premiere this summer. Guests are able to journey into Harley Quinn's actual Belle Reve or Belle Rev Suicide Squad cast. I don't know. They had if you haven't listened, they have a whole conversation about whether it's Reeve or Rev. Prison cell, lit dramatically and dressed with barbed wire, chain link fencing, iron bars, and yellow caution tape. Inside the cell, guests can snap the perfect Belle Reeve prison selfie. Mm-hmm. The exhibit also showcases Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice through an interactive experience, paying homage to the original superhero, Superman, and nocturnal crime fighter Batman. Guests will have the opportunity to get up close to kryptonite, Superman's sole weakness, inserting their hands into a pair of gloves inside a case holding the element. They will mirror Lex Luthor, played in the film by Jesse Eisenberg, and his kryptonite case featured in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Additionally, guests can use a voice modulator to alter their pitch to imitate Batman's, just as Alfred did in the film. See striking Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman costumes, as well as the authentic costumes of Lois, Clark, Alfred, and Bruce Wayne, original Batcave set pieces, and much more. That's a thing.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
It does.
I'll say, though, I have access to audio editing software.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I've tried that modulation.
Of
course I have.
So have I. That was the first 3 episodes of this podcast, and we didn't air them.
At the time, we were just trying to make my arrows, I guess. But
right. Pitch down a couple of ticks. You have failed the city.
Right.
So over to television news. They are teasing the big bad for season 5 already.
Well, shit.
TV Line is talking about. They're looking to cast the show's next big bad, and they're calling him James, which is probably a cover name.
Sure. Yeah, at this stage, yeah.
But they're looking for an actor of any ethnicity that is in his late 20s to 30s that can come off as a physical threat to our hero. He is described as an irrepressibly charming contemporary to Oliver's character, as James is someone who is on a mission to avenge a violent and tragic loss of his own from many years ago. James is also described as an unpredictable man who could pose as a great ally or stab you in the back big time and be a powerful opponent.
Dear God, that sounded like Batman for most of that.
Right?
I mean, who else do we have? Who else can we deal with?
I don't know, but you know how they were saying that they really wanted to really start doing the thing where they tie in the flashbacks to the main story again?
Yeah.
I think it'll be somebody from Russia. So,
yeah, okay. Have they already done KG Beast over at Arrow? I can't remember.
I don't think they've done KG Beast. Maybe they, I don't know.
Could be something that simple.
Like,
also,
they kind of do that trick where they just, like, kind of throw a first name in there, and you got to kind of assume that it's one of the big bads.
Yeah, there's no reason to believe that we're getting a synopsis. There's no reason you should be able to just use all the search terms and go through and find somebody right now.
Right.
They make a habit, actually, of just grabbing somebody's name and identity and plopping in a different story. So,
So, John Barrowman, everyone's favorite Malcolm Merlyn, was live streaming on Facebook and was live streaming at his pool and accidentally live streamed his husband Scott Gill's penis.
Yeah, that is what can be called the slow march of inevitability.
I told Jason about this earlier, and he was quiet for a beat, and he said it was only a matter of time, really.
I mean, it's Spearman. He shows body parts. We know that.
Yeah, he didn't mean to this time.
I actually believe he didn't mean to, but it's his destiny.
I don't know. I don't know what
He
else
will bring
to say
us
about
genitals.
That. Malcolm Merlyn, bringing us genitals.
The bringer of genitals.
The bringer of genitals since the early aughts.
Right.
So, Legends of Tomorrow. Phil Klemmer is talking about season 2. He's saying it's going to be partially rebooted for season 2. He said, the cast lineup, we've already talked about that, will be mostly the same of season 1. But it'll have a completely different premise. He says the finale is the equivalent of a wrecking ball. It pretty much lays waste to all of the dramatic structure of season 1. I'd like to submit that there hasn't been much dramatic structure of season 1. But okay.
I even me being the person who defends that show, I kind of wanted to ask, okay, what structure are you talking about?
He says, as we head into season 2, all the building blocks of season 1 will be obliterated. Well, I guess that's good. Effectively,
not necessarily, but okay. It's an argument for another podcast.
Effectively, the season 2 premiere will be a new pilot with new stakes and characters. It will be from the ground up. He just said that the cast will be the same. It will be a redesign of the show with hopefully the parts people like best. He says that in Season 2, that the team is no longer going to be hunted by Time Masters. They're no longer going to be burdened with having to save the world. It's no longer going to be about saving Miranda and Jonas. Are they going to have a point in the second season?
Oh, probably.
No, they're not going to be saving the world. What are they going to be doing? Playing with sticks in the cargo bay. Okay.
Saving a lizard.
He says the interesting...
I don't freaking know.
The interesting...
I mean, fun thing about TV is you've got a whole season to prove your premise and then actually execute it. So, yeah, and the nice part about Legends is it's anomalous. You have so many working parts that you can write about damn near anything you want to.
He's
to pick a good one.
He's saying the interesting thing about Season 2 is I think it's going to have a much, much different tone because our legends are going to have a totally different purpose. They're actually going to have a totally different constitution. There will be new faces and new everything. Season 2 will also introduce a new villain. He does say it's going to be hard to top Vandal Savage. I disagree. He did promise that they're going to find a way to do that. Okay. He says the dynamics between all the characters are going to be different. He says we never want our characters to be too comfortable or familiar with one another. Yeah, right. Kendra, Ray. As we find them working very well at the end of Season 1, I think we're obliged as storytellers to come up with a reason they are not working well in Season 2. I kind of feel like that's when they're at their best. Yeah. He says, after the numerous sacrifices the team has made since the beginning of this ride, Rip decides that it's time they each decide their own destiny and returns them to Central City a few months after they first left. Return to their normal lives. Each team member must individually decide if they are willing to sacrifice everything in order to save the world. Meanwhile, Sarah visits with her father, who delivers some heartbreaking news about her sister.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Damn well better.
All right.
I do like the angle that they actually do get back and kind of have to choose this time rather than being told, hey, you got 12 hours, see you there. Yeah, that
I want to see one episode where it's just the entire episode happens over the span of about 3 weeks, where they're parked in like Central City Park waiting for Kendra to stop flip-flopping as to whether or not she'll stay or go.
I'm gonna in a world where I had all the time I could, I would over the summer, I would just cut you your own individual trailer for Season 2. That would just be every decision she's made back to back with like a giant Legends of Tomorrow splash screen at the end. It would amount to, I don't know, we'll call it a 6-stack of waffles with a giant splashy Legends of Tomorrow font at the end.
Oh, man. Lucifer news?
Oh, God, yeah. I didn't know there was such a thing. It's over now, but okay.
There is, and it's kind of interesting. Leslie Ann Brandt, who plays Maze on the show, is talking about the new season. She says, in her character, she says she doesn't know what love is. There is lust, there is loyalty, and she for sure loves Lucifer, but being in love and all the feelings that go along with it is not something that's familiar to her. When she hesitates, there's a moment of, why can't I just do what I've always done? A few weeks ago, I would have killed you in an instant. What is happening? She pointed out that the show did not want the audience believing that Maze has feelings for Amenadiel. She explained that Maze has always been on Lucifer's side, whatever happened, but that in the next season, the former would lead a life that was not so focused on Lucifer. She's going to try to challenge Lucifer, but she also says she's going to be living a life alone, away from Lucifer, and that she hopes that they do explore the backstory of how they came together and what makes them so tied together. But she's going to be exploring more of her demon side on her own in Season 2.
Yeah, that could be cool.
It could be cool. I thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't expect anything interesting to come out of anything for, at this point. Yeah.
I mean, if she gets her way, though, we're gonna get a real backstory about the fall, essentially, and God, that's a few episodes, just the fall alone. I'd really like to see that. Also, as we've discussed before, the stuff they did with Maze was the most interesting stuff they did.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got, man.
Yeah, fair enough. I got you. It's a decent pack of news, at least movie wise. Some decent sprinkling of TV in there, but.
Yeah,
decent pack of movie news at least.
Yeah, it's a pretty good smattering of movie news. It's hot in my house. I've just suddenly noticed that I'm sweating. I'm like, why is it so hot in here? What's happened?
That's what happens when you end with Lucifer.
That's what happens when you end with Lucifer. Well, I want to throw a big thank you out to Christopher White. He sends us a lot of news and a fair amount, probably a good third of this episode. He sent us the news for, like, oh, you know what we didn't talk about? You know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about the trailer for Killing Joke. The trailer for Killing Joke came out.
Dear God. Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah.
I sent it to you and didn't write it down.
It seems so big that you didn't think it was worth writing down. That's what I'm about.
Right.
Look, anyone who's got about 3.5 minutes of their life that they can spare, and you want to get excited about something, go hit that up. Just go hit that up.
It's fantastic. As
I think it ends with Hamill's version of the Joker saying "one bad day."
So far,
if the hairs on several parts of your body don't stand up, and in a mixture of excitement and fear, you may need to see a doctor.
Yeah, and I'll say this: it's I'm not just gonna circle jerk the DC animation department as I usually do.
We've done that plenty.
I know. I think if there's going to be one real weak link here, it's the guy playing Gordon, and he's actually, I'm watching him. He's pretty good in Agent Carter right now. I'm trying to catch up on Agent Carter, and he's good on that show. But he's just kind of playing it a little over the top. There's certain actors, like, they think when they do voice acting, they've got to do this voice like this or something. Like, I can't even do it, but it's not. It just doesn't sound real. So I'm there were only like a line or two. There was only a line or two from Gordon in this thing. So in the trailer, so maybe it's not bad, but dude, so far it's like Conroy and Hamill are killing it. I'm
sorry, man. I think you're going to be swimming in awesome, and even if there's something that you don't like, you won't even notice.
Oh, I'll notice.
Just drowning in awesome.
I'll notice, but I might not care.
At least that.
It's sort of how, like, you watch the Superman Doomsday, and then all of a sudden Anne Heche comes on with Lois Lane, and you're like, oh, that's just not good.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But they absolutely, it looks
just weird.
Yeah. But it looks pretty good. It looks like a fair representation. We talked about this before, how they bounced it down from Boland to Kevin Knowles and artwork, which is kind of like a streamlined version of that artwork, and then bounce it down again to animation.
Right.
We talked about that a few weeks ago. So, I mean, I think it looks good. It looks iconic. I'm already seeing a lot of the iconic panels in there represented.
There's obvious respect for what they were dealing with.
Absolute dream to hear Conroy and Hamill saying those lines. Like,
God, hearing Conroy give that "we needed to talk,"
Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to kill each other. You know that, don't you? Like,
Just eating it up.
I have read that book so many times, trying to imagine how they would present those lines, and now I'm going to get to find out about it. I'm going to, I know already now how they say certain things, and I'm just all about it. And,
we knew from training, we knew from canon, how they perform when they have these roles, so we get it, but...
Mm-hmm. So, I mean...
I'm really looking forward... The one little bit I'm looking forward to, I think, top 10, at least, because there's so many good lines in this thing. Memory is treacherous. I want to hear exactly what Hamill does with that. Memory is so treacherous.
Yeah. Well, in the preview, they had the line where he says, memories are... What is the line? Memories are vile, repulsive brutes like children. Yeah. And it looks like that's going to be coming out in July, around the same time. They haven't said for sure, but it looks like it's going to be coming out around the same time as BVS. So,
So, busy month?
Time to mainline DC. That's,
Yeah. God.
Anyway, like I said, though, so good. Tremendous thank you to Christopher White for all the news he throws our way. Tremendous thank you to Scott Matteson for all the reviews he throws our ways for our review episodes that we do every week.
Happy birthday.
Randall Smith just actually emailed us as we're recording. Apparently Jerry Conway is saying F you to Zack Snyder. And it's kind of long. But, yeah, he's not okay with Zack Snyder. Yeah.
There's so many.
It's okay, though. I mean, apparently there's a Zack Snyder quote that's come up from 2008 that's resurfaced that everyone's freaking out about. Where he says, "You can call it highbrow comics, but to me, that comic book was just pretty sexy." I don't know what he's talking about. Which one? He says, "I had a buddy who tried getting me into normal comic books, but I was all like, no one is having sex or killing each other. There isn't really, really isn't doing it for me. I was a little broken that way. So when Watchmen came along, I was like, this is more my scene." And he says, "Everyone says that about Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Batman's dark." I'm like, okay, no, Batman's cool. He gets to go to a Tibetan monastery and be trained by ninjas. Okay, I want to do that. But he doesn't, like, get raped in prison. That could happen in my movie. If you want to talk about dark, that's how that would go. Apparently people are flipping out about it. Yeah, thanks, Zach. We're trying to defend you, you ass.
That was years ago.
I know. But you don't say prison rape is the way to go for Batman.
No,
you just don't.
There's no version of that's going to work out.
So, yeah, and let me point out, Jerry Conway is the co-creator of Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote
obviously doing well now.
He created Punisher, or co-created Punisher. He was the guy that killed Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man.
Oh, he was that guy. Okay. All right.
JLA writer, creator of Firestorm. This is what he says. "Fuck you, Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's baffling vision for superhero movies explained by Zack Snyder. The real mystery is why Warner's gave him their whole superhero franchise after Watchmen and Sucker Punch flopped. Ah, the sunk cost fallacy in action, illustrating the escalation of commitment principle. Which part is garbage? Snyder's obnoxious view of superheroes or calling him out for those views? Warner's continued support of Zack Snyder despite evidence he's a terrible choice for superhero movies explained. But they are Snyder quotes and clearly reflect his current thinking as evidenced by BVS. Seems relevant to me." Yeah. Okay. I don't know how much of that was his quote, and this is a poorly written article. But I don't know how much of that was his quote and how much of that was like the actual person writing it. But Jerry Conway is not happy.
Yeah,
there's a lot more. There's a lot more, but I'm not going to get into it. It's a lot.
Yeah. And
it's the same thing reiterated over and over again. Look, Zack Snyder makes pretty movies. That's all I got to say. I don't know. I don't like David Goyer. And I haven't seen... I kind of liked Sucker Punch, and I definitely liked Watchmen, but, I'm apparently a weirdo.
Yeah, I liked seeing these guys, but I don't want the tone to rest here for the rest of the franchise. I don't. I just expect that there's a change, and I hope that there's a change coming. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Anyway, thank you to everyone who contributes to the show and talks to us, and we are on Twitter and we're on Facebook, DC on Screen. We're having more and more conversations with listeners just like yourself, and we love having them. An old friend of mine from college just messaged me yesterday and said, "Been listening to the show. Love, your show is a hot spot for where I go to listen to news about the Flash. It's a guilty pleasure of mine." So it was a private message, so I won't say his name, but that was pretty cool. He enjoys the show, he says. So thank you to everyone. You can find every episode of DC on Screen at dconscreen.com. We're a proud member of the Giant Size Team Up Network, giantsizeteamup.com. You can there's a lot of great shows over there: Blazing Defender Report, Breaking the Panel, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast with Matt Carroll and Jeff Randall. I guess we'll be coming back with a whole bunch of new episodes, reviews this coming week, this Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, you got Gotham, Flash, Arrow, and Legends all airing. Well, you got a few weeks with them.
Guys, can you say nom 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 nom? Just wind it down.
Or if it's Dave talking about Legends, it's no.
Yeah. Oh, nom 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 can also be me tearing into it. Like, come here, Clemmer. Yeah. Come here, Clemmer, you little bastard. What are you doing to my characters? What are you doing, noogie, 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 noogie?
You little rascal.
You Weisenheimer.
Right.
Anyway, I think that's the second week I've said Weisenheimer.
Is it? Weird. Dear God, that has to be historically unprecedented.
Da da da.
Yeah.
Welcome to my house. Anyway. Open up the champagne, pop. I'm gonna call this episode. Until next time, guys. Keep some DC on your screen.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello and welcome to The Baker's Show. At Baker's, everyone wins when it comes to saving big. Because when you order online through the Baker's app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in-store with no hidden fees or markups. So no matter how you shop, you'll always save big at Baker's. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More, Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Baker's, fresh for everyone.